And let's welcome Alice Riggins. Again, thank you, Alice, for coming today. We appreciate you so much. This is something that a lot of times people don't like to talk about when they have suffered the loss of a loved one. But before we get started, Alice, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do in the community?
Okay, so I am Alice Riggins, Minister Alice Riggins. I attend New Faith Baptist Church under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Jeffrey P. I love that man. So grateful for him and all that he's just allowed me to be me.
Sure.
So I'm grateful for that. I am a life coach. I am a relationship counselor. I do premarital counseling, marriage counseling. I've counseled with both men and women. My passion is towards women, but however God leads me, that's the direction that I go. I am a mother of 2, grandmother of 3, love my little babies, and glad I get to send them home. But I love the little people, and I'm just excited and honored to be here today.
Yes,
so thank you.
Yes, thank you, girl after my own heart. So before we delve into the interview, tell us a little bit about your marriage, when you all met and how long you dated before you got married, and just tell us a little bit about your marital journey.
Okay, so Shane and I met when we were little kids. We didn't realize that until later on in our marriage when we were talking about, Shane was talking about where he used to go as a kid and where his father used to go. And he said there used to be this little girl that I used to play with, and she had long hair and ponytails, and she was always sitting on the porch. And I used to go over there and pull her hair, and I was thinking, and I said, that was me.
Oh my goodness.
So we laughed about that, but we thought that
Wow.
was just something amazing
Yes.
that we had played together as little kids.
Yes.
But Shane and Sean, so Shane's a twin. So Shane and Sean, they were in my oldest sister's wedding. They were ushers in my sister's wedding. And sometime after the reception, Shane came around. I was just standing outside, just devastated that my sister was getting married and leaving me. So I was happy for
a little bit of grief.
Exactly. I was kind of devastated, So I was just standing outside of the church like, my sister is leaving me. And Shane came around and was like, how old are you? And I was like, why? Like, I'm not even feeling you right now.
Yeah.
Like, my sister's leaving. Not even all about you. And a little time later, my sister asked me, I want you to be in this fashion show. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be in no fashion show. She was like, no, you're going to be in this fashion show. So I was like, okay. So I went reluctantly to the rehearsals and everything, the first rehearsal. And if you let Shane tell the story, he used to tell the story that he would say, oh, I saw Alice and she walked in and it was this bright light shining behind her. Her hair was flowing and blowing, and he tells exactly what I had on and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, you're always doing the most. But he always paid that much attention, to me.
So how old were you when you seriously started dating?
When we seriously started dating, I was probably 19 or 20.
19 or 20. And you dated how long before you got married?
I was 22 when I got married. Shane was 21, I was 22.
Wow. But been in each other's lives since children.
Since children.
Wow.
Exactly.
So speak to me a little bit about the journey. What happened when he first started getting sick, and what were your thoughts, and just speak to us about that.
Okay, when Shane first started getting sick, I think Joshua was maybe 4. My son was 4. and Shane's appendix ruptured. We didn't know, like we had no clue. He was in the hospital. He was extremely sick, but the doctors didn't know what was wrong with him. And he had gone through many, many tests. They had checked for his appendix, but they said, well, no, that's not it, but we just don't know what's wrong with him. But he was getting sicker and sicker and sicker. And it was really, really hard to look at him being so sick, you know, and every time the doctors would come back, they would say, well, that test came back fine, you know, and I'm looking at Shane like, you know, my husband is dying. Yeah. You know, he's dying. I'm like, I don't know what to do. You know, and I would call my mom several times like, Mom, it's not looking good. Yeah. You know, and you know how mothers are, you know how we are. You know, and she was just as sweet as she could be, and she said, Alice, I'm so sorry, but you gotta trust God. You know, everything's gonna work out the way it's supposed to. And I would just be like, Mom, you know, I don't know. I just can't see it. Yeah. You know. And because at that time you had been married for how long? At that time we had been married. Joshua was 4, so we maybe had been married 5. So we hadn't been married very long. Okay. You know, and I'm thinking, Lord, I'm going to be a widow before we even get started good. Yeah, yeah. You know. But your husband passed away when? My husband passed away 2016, September 2016. Okay, so 2016. You all were married for how long then? By that time, we had been married 23 years. 23 years. Yes. Wow. Yeah, so he passed away from cancer. It was an aggressive form of cancer. Shane went through a lot. Yeah. A lot dealing with, you know, the cancer, and he still just had so many issues. They told us initially, whenever his appendix ruptured, he had that poison in his system. Yeah. You know, they told us then that he would never be 100%. Okay. And he never was. He was never the same person. But and I hear you say that he went through a lot. But as his spouse, what were you going through? There were many, many days where I would look at him and I would just say, God, I don't know. And I would see him suffer. And I know there were times where he just was like, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, it was one day he told me, you know, I asked God for more time, and I've already lived that time out, and I'm not asking for any more. And I said, oh, okay, well, profound. I'm not ready, so I'm going to go ask for more time. Yes. So I did. Okay. I went and I prayed and I asked God, I said, God, if it be your will, I'm not ready for my husband to leave me. Yeah. How long do you think you grieved before he actually passed away? Oh, man. Just watching him suffer through the cancer. I think probably, because I knew ultimately, just between the conversation that he and I was having, there were many days where I knew he was trying to prepare me for him leaving. So I knew I had some time. Okay, to try to prepare. And even in that, I knew that God was preparing me because when Shane went to the hospital, he went from the hospital to the nursing home. So I lived an entire year sleeping in my bed alone. Okay. So I had preparation. Yeah. You know, and even when he came home, we had to have a hospital bed set up and have his room set up. You know, so he was in one room, I was in one room. You know, there were times when, and you know, I would go down and sit with him, you know, until he would fall asleep. Yeah. You know, then I would go and, you know, get in bed. But, you know, in the middle of the night, he would call me. I would go, you know, to see about him. So I had time to prepare. You know, me being alone, him not being at the house, and me trying to, you know, take care of everything at home. Sure. You know, I mean, it was something that I always did because he was sick for so long. Yeah. You know, leading up to him having cancer. But with him not actually being at home was still something totally different.
Sure. Well, speak to us about the waves of grief. Which one do you think that you experienced the most or the longest?
I honestly would have to say depression.
How so?
Just knowing that Shane wasn't there, and knowing that I was going to have to figure out this new normal.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it definitely is a new normal.
Yeah. So when you speak about depression, we understand that there's many components to depression. The isolation, the withdrawal, the crying spells, the loss of interest, the lack of appetite. But which one affected you the most, or was it all of them?
I dealt with all of them. And like you say, they all came in different ways. Sometimes it felt like I was experiencing everything at one time.
Sure.
You know, where I'm crying and I'm just in my room with the door closed and it's just me.
Yeah.
And I'm up under the covers and I'm like, I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be bothered with anybody. I don't want to answer the phone. You know, don't come to my house because I'm not going to open the door.
Yeah. How did you pull yourself out? Speak to us about how you overcame the grief.
The best thing I ever did was seek out counseling.
Okay.
I knew I was falling into this deep depression.
Yes.
Because when my mother passed away, I fell into such a deep depression and I didn't think I was going to be able to get out of it. So I knew what it felt like. And I kept saying, God, I don't want to be stuck.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck to where, you know, I'm a year, 2 year, 5 years down the line.
Yes.
And I'm still trying to figure out.
Because we can kind of tell when we're getting stuck.
Oh, yeah.
We know that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely knew that. And the best thing I did was seek out counseling.
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful Christian counselor, and she was amazing and helped me to get through the different stages. Yes. So as a minister and Christian, you still recommend professional counseling? Most definitely. Sure. My friend asked me, she said, well, what does a counselor do when she needs counseling? I said, she goes to counseling.
That's right. Yeah. Every counselor needs a counselor.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So what would you say, how could you speak to other people who have suffered a great loss, but they feel like they're stuck, and you see that they're stuck? What would you say to them?
I would say to them, don't be afraid. One, don't be afraid to be in the moment. Live in the moment.
Live in the moment.
So if you feel the urge to cry, cry. If you're upset, be upset.
Yes.
If you feel like you're in this stage of remembrance, you know, remember those good times that you had. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, and if you need professional counseling, seek out professional counseling.
But don't you think that society has really done a number on people, because we feel like crying is a sign of weakness?
Yeah. But I always, you know, my brother-in-law, he always jokes with my sisters and I. He's like, y'all cry rivers of tears. He calls us Sister Rivers.
Yeah.
You know, but crying is therapeutic.
Yes, it is.
It really is. So sometimes you just have to cry and get it out.
Yes.
And then pick yourself up and move on.
Yes.
And whatever that next stage is of moving on, you just have to live in that moment.
Yeah, because suppressed emotions is worse than expressed emotions.
Exactly.
You know, suppressed emotions will damage you internally. But expressed emotions will help you to release that pain.
Yes.
So if you feel like you have to cry, you know, in my office I have a plastic bat, you know, and I'm like, you know, just get it out of you. If you have to, you know, take the bat and hit the pillow or hit the couch, whatever you need to do to get rid of those emotions is what we need to do. But it's not really a sign of strength when you suppress your emotions.
Exactly.
And like Alice has said, and I like that very much, be alive in that moment.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to feel whatever you're feeling.
Exactly.
Did you ever get angry with God?
I don't think I got really angry. Not towards the end, when Shane had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, when we found out he had cancer, I was upset because I had just dealt with my father having cancer and him passing away.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly believe it was maybe 4 days after my dad's homegoing that we found out Shane had cancer. And I was like, God, you are kidding me.
That's a lot. That is a lot.
It is a lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, how in the world am I supposed to walk through this now?
Yes.
After dealing with what we had to deal with my dad. Like, I kept saying, I think I'm being punked because this is not real.
Yeah. I often say that, Lord, you have a sense of humor. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's okay to feel that anger.
Yes.
And we serve a God who understands us.
Exactly.
Exactly. So speak to us about the holidays. What are those like for you and your children?
Yeah. Holidays I love the holidays, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And even like this year, when I put my tree up, the kids came over and, we put the tree up together. And I just had that moment where I was just like, I really, really miss my husband.
Mm-hmm.
Shane was the ultimate decorator, if you know him. He was the ultimate decorator. My Christmas bowl that's on the top of my tree was a bowl that he made. So when we put the bowl on top of the tree, that's almost like me saying, okay, Shane is here now. He's here.
Yeah.
So just being able to, even with some of the decorations that he and I picked out together, and there were some decorations. I'm a huge Dallas Cowboy fan, and I love snowmen. So I have many snowmen that are the colors of Dallas Cowboys. But Shane didn't want me to put those on the tree. So now it's almost like I'm being defiant. Because I've got all my Dallas Cowboy decorations on the tree. Now Shane, take that.
It sounds like some good grief is going on.
Exactly.
And in ending out, our last question is, do you think that you would be afraid to love again?
No. Because my husband was very clear with me. And he told me, he said, it is okay for you to find love after I'm gone.
That's awesome.
He's told me, he said, I know that God has someone for you who can love you the way that I couldn't. And I would just look at him like, wow, you are doing too much right now. He's like, no, I'm really serious. It is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. He said, I don't want you to worry about anything that my family has to say. Find love again. It's okay. I'm okay with it.
And your children, do you think that they're experiencing good grief now, or?
I think to a certain degree, they still have their moments where they're just like, I can't believe Dad's gone. Like, it's been 2 years, but wow.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's gone. So I try to encourage them as much as I can. And I tell them the same thing I tell the people: be in the moment.
Be in the moment.
Experience whatever emotion that has arisen within you in that moment. And know that it's okay. Know that we're all still missing him, especially this time of the year. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Just know that it's okay.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you again for coming out.
You
have been a wonderful help to us, and you are a woman of resilience and strength. So let's put our hands together and thank her for coming out. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we want to give you an opportunity to present whatever questions that you may have for either myself or Alice Riggins. And if there's any questions on Facebook that's coming in, we'll take those as well.
How do you really overcome when it seems like there's been years and years of mourning?
When there's been years and years of mourning, you have to realize that there's a God who will give you mourning. Like, mourning is going to come. M-O-R-N-I-N-G. You may be mourning the loss of someone, but you don't want to be stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you say, okay, well, I don't want to be stuck. How do I get unstuck? I had to recognize that there was a purpose for my pain.
Yes.
There's a purpose in pain. I had to realize that I dealt with back-to-back grief for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I dealt with the loss of my husband for a reason. And I had to even say, I didn't lose my husband because I know where he is.
Yeah.
He's not here anymore physically with me, but I didn't lose him. So that helped me as well.
Yes.
To say, okay, he's not lost. He's safe.
Yes.
In the arms of our Heavenly Father.
Yes.
He's living a life that much greater. Shane knew that there was greater, and he always said, I win either way.
Yeah.
Yes. I win if I lose.
Yes.
I win if I die. I win if I live.
Yes.
I win either way.
Yes.
And when he said that, I said, okay, well, I'm going to have to accept that too. Right?
Yes.
I can't fight that.
Yes.
So you just really have to accept the fact that this person is no longer with you physically, but they've won a battle, and they've won either way. They've won the ultimate victory. The ultimate victory.
And just let me add too, the worst thing to do is nothing.
Yes.
The worst thing to do is nothing. You have to participate in your healing process. I said there's many waves that come. What are you doing with the waves? Are you still fighting the waves? Are you still in denial? Because we have to apply radical acceptance, which is not even necessarily going through the process of trying to analyze and judge and the what ifs and, all of that stuff, but it's just accepting my new norm now and trying to do something with that. That will decrease the longevity of the grief where you can move into the good grief.
Yes.
I was wanting to ask a question. You said your father passed away, and then you found the news out about your husband.
Yes.
And during that process, especially when your husband passed away, how was it? How did you get out of, not wanting to be bothered with family, not wanting to receive phone calls, especially around the holidays?
I had, other than my sisters, I had 3 people who stuck by my side. I had one friend who, he would send me video messages, to check on me, to see how I was doing. My best friend, who lives in Kentucky, she was here when my dad passed away. When Shane passed away, she came back. She stayed with me for like a week or 2. And once she went back home, I kind of felt like I was empty once she left. But then one of my best friends who lives here in the city, it was like Joanna picked up right where Nikki left off. And so the 3 of them, between the 3 of them, it was like they were right with me. I almost felt like whenever these waves of grief came, it was like one of them was right there, right at the right time to check on me. And sometimes I would see them calling, and I would be like, I really don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk right now. But they would leave me this amazing message, or they would leave a prayer that was just what I needed to help me to get over whatever emotion I was dealing with. So there was always a person that God planted for me to be able to deal with.
How do you deal with your grief and your children's grief?
I think for me, I think it was essential for me because I could tell my children, I know what you're going through because I just lost my father.
Mm-hmm.
So I know your grief that you're dealing with in the loss of your father. I understand that. But I told them, I can't take your grief away. I think as a mother, you always want to protect your children. You always want to hold them and, just protect them from everything.
Yes.
But I also understood that they had to walk through this just as I had to walk through dealing with my father's death.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like we were walking through the same thing at the same time. Because even though it had been a year, not quite a year since my dad had passed away, then I walked right into dealing with, Shane's illness. Like once Shane passed away, it was like, now I can grieve the death of my father. Now I'm grieving the death of my husband. So it was almost like I was walking through with the kids at the same time. So just being able to say, okay, y'all take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Be in this moment. I know you're upset. Don't take it out on me.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to cut you.
Yeah. But I think it's powerful because you have the lines of communication open.
Yes.
And
Most
like you said, you want to protect your children, but I think the main thing is tuning into them.
Yes.
And seeing what they're going through and being able to have that open discussion with them is very important.
Yes. And I had to make sure that they were, not doing things to self-medicate.
Sure. Absolutely. Another question?
When do you know that your depression is taking over, and when should you probably get help?
Depression is of the devil, and we know when we are depressed, and that is not a good feeling at all. Depression will come in and take you over. And what I often tell people in counseling is to allow your diagnosis to empower you. If you know the signs and symptoms of depression, which we stated earlier, is the isolation, the lack of appetite, the loss of interest, and you just want to stay in your room and the curtains are drawn, all of that. So if allowing your diagnosis to empower you is doing the opposite of what depression is telling you to do. Depression is not your friend. It doesn't come to add to you. Depression is going to take from you. So whatever depression says to do, I'm going to do the polar opposite, which means that although depression causes you to have a lack of energy, I know that I have to incorporate my will. So now I have to take it by force and not by choice. I have to make myself get out of bed. To make yourself take a shower. You have to make yourself be around other people. So you have to, again, the worst thing to do is nothing, because depression will definitely overpower you.
Is there a normal grieving period?
Well, as I said earlier in the podcast, that everyone's journey is so different, and there is not a cookie cutter recipe for. We're all so different, and some of us have more resiliency than others. Some of us have more faith than others, and everyone is just so different. So the answer to your question is that there is not a normal. However, it's up to you. Do you like feeling like that forever? Because once you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you're going to want to get more help for yourself. And like Alice said, she recommends that if it's been prolonged grief, that you do seek professional help to get out of it. Wonderful advice, wonderful. Thank you everyone for tuning in to Facebook Live. Don't forget again that to share and like, especially on YouTube and Facebook. And remember that grief is a normal part of life, but you can survive grief and the holidays. Look for the silver lining to experience the good grief. Thank you again, Pastor Bozeman, Assembly of Faith Church. Thank you.